Thanks for listening to the QPR podcast. Before we play the episode, we have a very small favour to ask you. We've been nominated for a Football Blogging Award in the Best Podcast category, and we'd really like to win it. But to do that, we need votes. If you think we deserve the award and you'd like to vote for us, here's how you do it. The first way is via Twitter, and you can do that and find the link by going to our website at qprpod.co.uk. Scroll down to the Football Blogging Awards button, click on that, press tweet, and your vote's counted. If you don't have Twitter, you can also do it by going to west12media.co.uk/awards. That takes you through and fill in the best podcast category. Thank you very much. Enjoy the episode.
The QPR podcast is sponsored by deskbeers.com. Perfect as a gift or a thank you to the team at the end of a long week. Each Desk Beers box contains a selection of 12 of the best craft beers available, with 2 to 3 styles in each box. As a special offer for QPR podcast listeners, you can get 20% off your first order by entering the code QPR20 when you sign up at deskbeers.com.
QPR, QPR, Six Park Rangers are on the up and up. QPR, QPR, now we're heading for European Cup.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the QPR podcast. I think we're still called up on all ours. David will remind me. Anyway, tonight there's myself, Paul Finney. There is James Evans.
Hello, Paul Finney. You right?
That didn't sound freaky at all. I'm not bad. I missed you the last time you were on. I was on holiday. Best move ever. And yes, and how are you keeping?
They let me back in, so that's not so bad, so it must be alright. And I'm good. I'm good, thank you.
You keep?
Yeah, not too
I
bad.
do worry about you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I know you changed career quite a lot.
I'm back dreaming up really bad quiz and game shows. There were some crazy ideas this afternoon involving... I can't really say, actually.
Moving on. Right, for those who are still with us, we're now going to talk to somebody else. Mark Davis, on Twitter, you are...
At Jude the Cat.
Jude the Cat. Welcome to the
Thanks,
podcast. What do you think? What was your expectations of the podcast? Professional?
Well, I've done a bit of research listening to all of your back catalogue, which was quite interesting.
That's not research, that's torture.
In the main. But I'm looking forward to hopefully taking part and being vaguely interesting. So we'll have to see how that works out.
Fair enough. It'd be fine. Just you're in a pub with friends talking about Rangers. How can I go wrong? And we have Junior Fraser.
Indeed.
Ben, the younger brother of our illustrious leader, David.
I prefer to think the younger, better-looking brother, but yes.
Have you got any mirrors in your house?
Sorry?
Nothing. I would hide them if I was you. Anyway, welcome to the podcast again, Ben. 'Cause last time you were on was 4 years ago, I believe.
4 years ago, I obviously did such a great job that you invited me straight back.
I don't know. I've always told you were quite good when you came on.
You often do. Indeed.
I do.
I've been sent tonight to keep you in check, obviously.
I like the sound of this. Sounds quite funny.
It's a bit scary if you ask me. Right, tonight we're being sponsored by Desk Beers. And what it is if you go on their website, which is deskbeers.com, and put in a code QPR20, you can have your beer delivered to your office, your house, or I don't know, would they deliver to a beach somewhere, do you reckon? Well, you could try it, you could ask.
If it has a desk, I imagine
I was just
is the
gonna
key criteria.
I was going to say, yeah, okay, it's not deck beers, is it? So,
You can
okay.
could do a makeshift desk out the box. It's coming though. So.
We've got to plug these. It's a sensible bit.
I know. I was being kind.
David sent me an email on WhatsApp and everything else, so I don't forget this. And his brother. We can't get this wrong.
It's very nice beer.
I'm having a sip. It's good.
It is, and I'm just trying the gluten-free one.
Yeah.
So all you celiacs out there, hello, stay away from the wheat. You get 20% discount if you go into deskbeer.com, and they will deliver to you anywhere. So that's that done. Right, Saturday. Let's be honest, we didn't expect to get that point, did we? Start with James.
No, not
because you
at all.
make notes.
I do make notes. Okay, I just say your gluten-free bit. I genuinely thought for a second it might have been called Mikkel Beck, as a little tribute to someone that played for QPR for about 4 minutes, but it isn't. It's a Mikkeler.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't... Sorry, no, I saw that earlier.
Who invited you on? You shouldn't.
Sorry.
That'd be me.
Well, look, we're decent away from home, it appears. And... I mean, I wasn't there. My 1 minute 51 highlights, courtesy of QPR, which was the Charlie Austin Man of the Match performance. That was quite interesting. His link-up play looked great, and
He enjoys scoring, though, doesn't he?
He loves scoring, and he's really good. If you want to put a fiver on any-time goal scorer, Charlie Austin.
Oh, okay.
Which has only let me down once this season. Not that I, not that
It's a
I.
bit like he's
condone
taking his gap
betting,
year this season. You kind of feel like he's just having fun. He's just having fun, kind of taking his gap year. Has he improved this season compared to last, or is it just the competition's easier?
I think the competition's easier for him now.
Yeah.
And I mean, every time I'm on, I always talk about Ali Falling because I love the bloke. And again, he came back into play, and there's a statistic that. Actually, that's the first time I think he started that we haven't actually won. But every game he starts, we either win or draw. And in the games that I've seen at home, which are a bit easier for me to get to, the midfield, especially the back two, they're a bit slow. And Falling's never known for pace, but he can make an incisive pass. And I mean, that is telling. The ability to be able to link up with Austin, and even Austin to then give it back to someone else is a good thing.
Do you know what I like about Ali Forlan? Is that
He comes on the podcast.
that's the second thing I like about him. I was going to be serious for a second.
Cooking on gas?
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Are we done?
Is he gluten free as well?
The word you're looking for is celiac. Anyway, is that he's always looking for the next pass. One of the players, when he gets a ball, he's looking to do something with it. He's always busy, and to come back. I mean, I don't care what anyone says. To come back from what he's done, the guy has got serious guts, and I want to see him in that team as much as possible. You've made notes, Mark, which makes me nervous. So you're going to say something sensible and ruin the whole podcast.
Nothing about this, no. But I think you're right. You're right with Forlan. Despite the fact he's got knees made of porcelain, he always appears that he's one pass ahead of the rest of the midfield, and he adds something which, up until now, Tozer and people like that haven't done. And you always look more aggressive, if that's the right word, with him in midfield, and you always look more likely to score. I mean, look, for Saturday, not many teams are going to go to Hull and get a point, if we're honest with ourselves.
But it's just, they've dropped.
It is first points dropped at home, you're right. So it's just this Jekyll and Hyde character we've got home and away at the moment, which is just a bit of a problem. And we look solid away from home. We just need to have that connection at home. But I think if Forlan starts the next home game, then I think we'll see a big difference.
I have a theory. I might ask if we speak to someone later what it is.
Who could that be, I wonder?
I don't know. Do you want to introduce him?
Not yet. Stop trying to run the show.
I'm not trying to. I'm just saying. I have a theory, but I want to ask someone in the know.
Well, as James has decided to host the show tonight, and we're going to we might as well just do what he wants. We're going to go to Steve Gallen. Welcome, Steve Gallen, to the podcast. No stranger to the podcast. Although the last time you were here, you didn't, quite frankly, shut up, and you made me look quiet, which is brilliant. So, and now you're first team coach at QPR. Welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finney. It's nice to be back on. Thanks for the invite.
It's lovely to have you. Lovely to have you. Right, I'm joined with James Evans, who's a QPR fan, and Ben Fraser and Mark Davis, and we're just going to fire questions at you. You can answer whichever way you want, and we're only on for another 45 minutes, Steve, so if you can keep that in mind with the answers, that would be great.
No problem.
Right.
Hit me with anything, not a problem.
Hit you, anything?
Anything, go on, go for it. I'll just say no comment if there's any.
All right.
Does it have to be QPR related?
Anyway, Christmas time's coming up. Who's the tightest amongst the brothers for presents? Be honest with me.
Kevin is he just won't put the hand in the pocket.
There's a shock.
He never has. And it's almost because he's like the youngest. And as you know, it's his 40th birthday today, so I thought I'd just mention that on air. But
what did you get him?
He's always expected, because he's the youngest out of everyone, and it was spoiled, I think, a little bit by my mum and dad. And even when we walk into a bar, which is rare, as you know, but when we walk into a bar, rare, a couple of times a year, he loves opening the door first so that I walk in or Joe walks in, so that we basically get to the bar first. Kev's the tightest. Joe's pretty generous, to be fair. So I'd say me and Joe the generous, Kev definitely the tightest.
I had noticed, by the way, just saying.
Steve, what did you get?
Yeah, he just won't do it. Sorry.
So, I was going to say, what did you get Kevin for his birthday?
Well, to be fair, my missus did post a card, so yeah, obviously I don't trust the Royal Mail to send the cash through, so that's the reason he's not receiving any cash this time. But There will be something. I don't know what it is. I will get him something. And he's pretty poor. My birthday is like at the end of November, and always since we've been adults, he'll buy me a joint present over Christmas. So exactly. So he gets a birthday present in September and a Christmas present. I get a joint one, which is pretty much exactly what I would spend on him for his birthday. But that's him. That's like the baby of the family. Tightest, definitely.
Well said. Well said. James has got a question for you.
It's non-Gallen related.
Oh God! What is it?
Yeah,
about
sorry.
football?
It might be about football because I kind of teed this up before we called you, and then Finney took the mickey out of me for trying to present the show. But so what I was going to ask was, so it looks like we play a 4-2-3-1, and is that suited to doing well away? Do you think is that why we're not doing so well at home? Because it looks like, I think results-wise, we're a little bit stronger away from Loftus Road.
Yeah, they are. That's for sure. And I wouldn't say it's got anything to do with pressure. I know people talk about, there's pressure at home. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's certainly like the opposition, has made, and the way they've gone about it. So Forest and Blackburn were very, very direct. And even thinking back to the Rotherham game, which we ended up winning, and I think deservedly so, they were very direct in the first 20 minutes. Really long throw-ins, kicks, goal kicks, any free kicks. And they just kept pumping it back on us, and we struggled a little bit with that because we work so much on being a passing team, a short passing team, and fluid movement, that when we're at home, and Loftus Road, it's a small pitch, and I've noticed that more in the last month than I had done as years as a fan. On the small pitch, it's hard for us to play our way out at times.
Yeah, and you need to get that going.
The big pitches, well, yeah, up at Hull like the other day, massive pitch, passed our way out of all sorts of problems. We were very composed and well worth the point. But also up at Wolves, although we started badly in that game, the big pitch suited us. Matty Phillips, obviously, is a great athlete. Cherry's a very, very good athlete as well. Carl Henry gets up and down the pitch. He's probably not going to score too many goals, but he gets up and down and can supply. And Massimo Luongo also has got some good legs for running in behind Charlie in particular. And so, you're right, away from home, we've actually looked a better team. And at home, I think we have to try and find a better way of dealing with the direct play that we've been up against Blackburn, I think, in particular.
Cool.
I hope that answers the question.
Oh, it does. That was great.
Steve, this is me, and then we're going to go to Mark. You mentioned something there about being being on the coaching staff and being a fan. Do you have to separate the two at times? Do you find yourself that would you make?
This is going to be bizarre. You have to be careful at times what you say, because I don't want and the players or anyone listening sort of thinking that's a bit immature. But the other day when the fans started singing "Come On You Ours," I felt like singing it. I felt like joining in. I was so desperate for come on, shouting at the players against Blackburn. It was 2-2 and we were pushing to try and get a winner, and they started singing "Come On You Ours." I nearly joined in with "Come On You Ours." The other one I noticed when was it? Was on Saturday against Forest. They started singing, "Oh, I never felt more like singing the blues." So I obviously thought, all right, Chelsea must be losing. So straight away when I heard that Chelsea are losing, and we're winning, but I actually felt a little bit like, bloody hell, I could easily start singing that. Just be mindful in front of everybody.
It's not like the TV cameras are there. No one noticed. Seriously, Steve, you're doing fine.
You don't really. Hey, exactly. You have no idea. Do you know what? You have no idea when you're on the bench that anybody's watching. You don't even think like that. Or there's cameras, or what you're doing, or your body language. You just don't think like that. You're completely in a zone about your players and how you want to play. And the first game, my wife and my son came to it. My dad, who sits upstairs, he's been a season ticket holder now for over 45 years. I never thought for 1 second the first home game, was it against Cardiff? Drew 2 seconds. That was the first home game. I never thought for 1 second to look up at my dad or my wife or my son. I didn't even think they were there. I didn't even think about it until a couple of hours after the game. So I think as I get a little bit more, it settles down a little bit and I get a bit more experience, I can maybe detach myself a little bit from that and actually look up at my dad and wave to him or my wife or whoever. Like Gary Waddock used to do, Mr. Finney. Remember that? He used to always wave to someone in the South Africa road stand. I was a little boy. Who's he waving to? He's always waving to someone up there when he was a player. You probably weren't going in them days, Finney. I don't think you were allowed down to Shepherd's Bush, allowed out of the house.
No, I think I was still in Belfast, but it need long arms for that wave, I can tell you. No, it's interesting you say that though, because there's always been a family thing. I mean, I didn't realise till I met him that Paul Goddard was a QPR fan. You know, there's always been that thing that local kids coming into the club and everything else, and perhaps that's something that was missing a few years ago. That's now creeping back in, thank God.
I never knew that either. You know, there's a player, an ex-player who comes around, does a bit of work with the PFA. His name's Paul Mortimer. I don't know if you remember him.
Ex-Charlton player.
For Charlton. He's from Shepherd's Bush, and he loves QPR. And
Really?
so he came down to speak to the youth team a couple of years ago, and I sat in on it, you know, like a PFA sort of talk that we have once every couple of weeks. And he mentioned after, he said, yeah, how's this going and how's that? And I thought, he knows a lot about QPR, considering he's a Charlton man. And he says, no, I'm a massive Rangers fan. So I'm from Sawley Road, lived there all my life, love it, love QPR.
Oh.
I was buzzing. I was delighted to talk to him about you know, QPR and sort of back in the 80s and the 90s, and it was a great conversation. So, hey, there is a few out there. It's not just me and you four guys there and Paul Goddard. We've got Paul Mortimer as well.
We have.
And Pete Doherty, and that's it.
Oh yeah, Pete. God bless. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Apparently, he was in your hotel, wasn't he, at the Huddersfield game?
He was. Yeah. I mean, that was quite late at night, I believe, from what I hear. Probably no surprise to hear he was up at late at night. But I was in my bed. I'm sure you guys will all be pleased to hear, preparing for the game the next day at Huddersfield.
Hi, Steve. Mark here. One of the things that the club has been, I don't know if accused is the right word, is not having as good a comprehensive youth setup as other clubs. And obviously, with your previous role before you came up to the first team, you, of all people, can see the changes that have been brought in over the last couple of years. I mean, just how important have those changes been? And does Warren Farm present another opportunity for that to improve still further, for us to look at the next generation of QPR players coming through the ranks, as opposed to what's happened with previous regimes where we've just brought people in?
Yeah. Okay, it's a good question. This one could go on for a while, but I'll start sort of I'll rewind sort of back about 25 years or something like that. We're from East Acton Lane, so we're just a mile away from Loftus Road. Me and my two brothers, we all played for Watford. It's a mile away from Loftus Road. There was no youth set up at QPR 25 years ago. Watford did, Charlton did, Tottenham did, Arsenal did. We had a youth team, a decent one, because Alan MacDonald had come through it, and Ian Stewart. I'm trying to think of all the boys from Northern Ireland for youth, Finney, and
Clive Allen.
And
He was.
Yeah, I know. Okay, but how did they come through? And Paul Goddard, obviously. How did they come through? Well, we didn't have a schoolboy section like other clubs had. To cut a long story short, somebody would turn up with a brown envelope from Jim Gregory, passed down, and we'd hand it to whoever, and they would all of a sudden play for QPR and leave West Ham and leave Tottenham, probably work out, and leave Watford in the end, like my little brother, and leave this and leave that and leave that. We never had no foundations. I hate to say it, but we brought through a great youth team and youth system, but it was almost because we needed them players in them days. There was nothing else. Alan MacDonald could come through, he was good, and Brian Laws then after him, who I didn't think was fantastic but was decent, and Tony Roberts, all similar sort of era, and Gary Waddock, Warren Neal, Ian Dawes. They could come through because we didn't have anything else. Now, in the last few years in particular, we have chucked millions and millions all over the place, and it's become harder again for a young player to come through the ranks. Because if you look at the last 5 years, we've either been doing everything to get promoted or doing everything to stop ourselves getting relegated. Now, there has been money put into the youth department in the last few years, for sure. We had a staff, so 4 years ago, it was basically me, Birchie, and a physio. That was QPR's youth department staff. Wickham, down the road, had 8 full-time staff. We had 3. Okay, so that's what we were up against. We had nothing compared to everyone else, compared to Wickham, Orient, Brentford even. All them clubs had more than us. More money's been put in. We have got a better infrastructure. We have got more staff. We do look like we're going to move to a new training ground. That's going to make a big, big difference for everybody. and it's sort of like an inspirational place that we can call our own, our home. That'll be important for the future. But the scouting certainly has to improve in the youth area, and we're up against Fulham, who have spent millions in that department, far more than we have, and Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, whatever, Reading, all these clubs are spending big money. They're Cat 1 academies. We're a Cat 2 academy, pretty much because of our facilities. But it does make a difference. We need to get to the Cat 1 status, which hopefully the new training ground will help us get to. And then we can sell ourselves a little bit more and not have to rely on bunging this club and that club and that club and that club, or someone's parents a few quid to get such and such and such in. I can't go through the names, but littered in our history is we got him in because we paid him a few quid, and him, and him, and him. And the fans don't sort of know that. All they know is that we produce players, and that's the most important thing. We've got to produce our own. I am pleased to see Michael Doughty coming on. It's only coming off the bench, against Hull. He held his own. He did really, really well. He's played 100 league games now in like League 1 and League 2. He's ready now. He could go in next week, and we'll all give it. He's not a bad player. He could go in and play. And to be up against Ali Fallin and Carl Henry, experienced seasoned pros in the Premier and the Championship, that's good for Michael Doughty. But there's other lads sort of knocking about as well. We've seen Reese, we've seen Darnell, we've seen Cole, we've seen Brandon. Little glimpses of them lads. They're not quite ready for regular Championship football. Joe Lumley's been around it. But they've all come through the schoolboy ranks and are pushing for the squad anyway. They're pushing. And I do think, look at the average age of like our team. Look at the average age of the Hull's team. Any team. There ain't too many 18-year-olds, 19, 20-year-olds playing. They're generally 25s. Tom Huddleston, Michael Dawson, Curtis Davis in the 30s. They're mainly that kind of age. So we have to keep pressing hard, and hopefully we can get Doughty and a few others into the team and stay in there.
Steve?
I could go on a lot longer, but I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that.
Steve, sorry, can I ask a question actually about the youth players? Has there been, I guess, looking at the players that are coming through and those ones that are now on the bench and are getting league appearances with the club, is there a mindset shift amongst the younger youth players coming through that actually they could achieve something with QPR, where previously maybe 5-6 years ago there weren't that many players coming through? Any of our players that did well would really end up League 1, League 2, but not appearing for the club.
Yeah. I think the ones in particular who sort of see a pathway is 18s and above. I think when you're like 14, 15 and 16, you probably don't really feel like, I need to be in QPR's first team in 3 years or anything like that. You go one step at a time in the under 14s. Can I get another contract to take me to under 16? Then at that age, I'm desperate to get a full-time contract. 50% maybe do as a scholar, 50% don't. Then when you're in the youth team, you're thinking, God, I need my 2 years in the youth team, YTS, if you want to call it that. In the old days, they used to call it YTS. My 2 years there, I give everything to be a pro and get in the 21. So that's the sort of pathway. It was the 21s players, so the likes of Tom Hitchcock, I would imagine, going back just 2 or 3 years, and Maxima, and even Michael Doughty to extent, and Michael Harriman, all decent players, all playing league football now. Them boys in particular felt, God, we just can't break through. And I do think a lad, you can be 18 and 19, 20 and you're going forward and doing really well, and you need someone to be brave enough to chuck you in to try and keep the momentum going, and you can hit a bit of a ceiling. I certainly feel like with a few players like the ones I mentioned, Tom Hitchcock, Maxima, Michael Harriman, for example, they hit a ceiling, and then another year in under 21 football, they've lost the momentum. They're also almost going downwards in a curve. Them boys have gone off. Michael Harriman's at Wickham, Max is at Gillingham, and Tom Hitchcock scored the other day for Stevenage. Them boys could still come back to League 1 Championship, possibly Premiership, but League 1 Championship. But momentum's important, and Michael Doughty's stuck with it all the way through, and he's made everyone believe, the manager in particular, he's made the manager believe that this lad can actually be very, very useful for us. And I don't think the manager would have any problem chucking him in to start now. And he's up against some good players, especially in midfield. We're strong in that area.
And is that a conscious decision that yourself and Chris Ramsey have made? So you obviously both have your background in youth football. That with 7 subs, that you're conscious that you want to put some youth team players on the bench now, and that really so they can see there is an opportunity there?
Yeah, I don't think. No, we don't think like that. And I do remind the manager though. So like after a couple of games this season. So when we played up at Huddersfield the other week, and the bench was very inexperienced, for sure it was. Okay, so in one way, if you want to win a game, you want to have the best kind of bench you can. You want to have the best 11 on the pitch and the best bench so you can bring lads on. Hull had a fantastic bench the other day. They had players they could bring on that could change the game, stuff like that. When we went up to Huddersfield, we had Brandon, Darnell, Cole, Joe Lumley. I was delighted to have them. I was delighted because I know all them boys for years. But it was almost there was nobody else, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I don't think the manager is saying let's get these 4 lads because they're in the youth team. I certainly think there was a case for that last year to prove to everybody, yes, we have got some not bad young players. Yes, I'm brave enough to do it. But I think now them boys, and Darnell's gone off to Northampton, and I really believe that's exactly the place he needs to be right now in League. Them boys, League 1 and League 2. Tyler Blackwood's another lad I believe can go to League 1 and League 2, play games, go and get the experiences with Cole Capicua, Brandon, Reese, them boys, and then come back and challenge. Maybe after Christmas, hopefully challenge it on the bench, and maybe even a bit more going forward. That's the right place for them lads, I feel right now. Answer your question, I don't think the manager at all is saying let's get these 4 lads from via the under-21s on our bench. He is picking what he feels is this is the best team that's going to win it, and these who I feel are the best subs, and basically who've trained the best, because we've got a bit of competition for places now. Leroy Fair's just coming back in, Sandro's back in training, Yun's training every day, so there's a bit of competition. So now he's got a Junior Hoylett missed out the other day. He's got choices now for the bench, I understand. So there's good competition right now.
Steve, it's James again. I was gonna say, hiya. I mean, when you were talking earlier about comparing QPR's youth to Wickham, I mean that was a bit embarrassing, but it must be hard for you to separate the fan and doing your job. But don't lose that. Personally, hearing you talk about QPR, then don't lose it. But what I was going to say is the fact that we managed to keep hold of everybody that, as fans, we wanted to keep hold. Do you have expectations changed? Or is it for you? Did your expectations change? Or did you always think, right, we're going to go as high as we can?
No, I was absolutely delighted that Charlie and Matt didn't leave. In the transfer window. Again, as a fan, of course, but also as a professional, I want the best players around me every single day. I want to learn from them. I want to teach them. I want to be around them. I want to see how they act. I want to pull them up if I don't think they're acting in the right way. I was really, really pleased that we kept them. We've got some good additions to the squad. Has expectations changed? I think they did when we kept them. And we had 3 games where we won on the bounce, of course. I think we all started believing, hold on a minute. Then maybe reality checks in against Forest, losing the game, which was disappointing. And then a draw against Blackburn. But I heard people say at the start of the season, and this is not in the coaching staff, I'm talking about fans, saying, look, mid-table would be sort of good for us. We obviously want more, but we all have to be mindful that we can win a few games easily in this league, but we could also lose a few games in this league, and we just have to be careful about that. I counted 7, so I'm on the bench there on Wednesday night, obviously. I counted 7 new players playing for QPR. So with Alex Smithies in goal, okay, and Geller centre-half, and Tozer in midfield, and Massimo and Cherry, just off the top of my head, and 2 fullbacks, Perch and Kocheski, I counted 7. Then Jamie Mackey comes on a sub, that's now 8. New players. So for any team to have that much of a change less than 2 months into the season, I'm not overly surprised really that we win a couple and then we drop a couple. We're hopefully going to find some consistency soon, and because the group is still getting to know each other.
Steve, which brings me nicely on, because we're going to wrap the interview up now, because the Steve Gallen podcast has been brilliant, and you must come on again, and you talk more than me. That's incredible and brilliant.
Yeah, I do. But you know that about me, Finney. Come on, the background.
Steve,
that's all we do.
We don't know each other.
Talk. That's all we do.
We don't know each other. I've never talked to you before in my life. This is. Listen, Friday, massive game. I could be wrong, and I'm prepared to get slaughtered without doing my research, which I'm rubbish at doing anyway, but I'm pretty sure we haven't won at Craven Cottage since 1981, if I'm right. Whatever happens on Friday, we give it our best shot, and the lads come over to the fans at the end of it, whatever happens, because it is a wee bit of a local derby, and the Rangers fans will be there in fine voice, I'm sure. What's your thoughts on the game beforehand?
Okay, in some ways, like mentioned earlier, in some ways I'm quite pleased it's an away match. Although it's a bizarre away match, isn't it? I was saying to someone earlier, I might just walk to the ground. So it's not too far from us. Although, as we all know, getting around Hammersmith Broadway on a Friday evening is not the easiest. But look, what I hope, obviously, I hope we win the game, and I honestly believe we're fully capable of doing that. I really do believe that. Because we've got the firepower. They brought in some new players and spent some money, Fulham, so they're in a similar position to us. A lot of new players, takes a little bit of time, they're going to get a good result, then they're going to get a bad result. We got the firepower, I think, to hurt them. Obviously, I'll be buzzing to see, a big Rangers contingent in the away stand, and I know the QPR fans will be scattered all over the ground as well. I'm trying to convince my dad and a few others to go to the game. I'm trying to say to him, come on, Dad, it's the same as a home game going down to Fulham. But he quite likes sitting. He's 79, my dad. He quite likes sitting and watch sort of the games on TV now, especially the away matches. We're fully capable of getting a positive result at Fulham. I want to see the fans go and enjoy themselves and, of course, behave themselves as well. So, Finney, behave yourself now. Tell all your mates, all the dodgy ones, the good boys, and enjoy it, because you know what? That is one thing that we have got this season. Obviously, Fulham and Brentford ourselves is only a few miles apart. So they should be good games. That both the home and away games should be good against Fulham and Brentford. Looking forward to them.
Good man, Steve. Do you know what? It's brilliant to interview someone who loves QPR so much, and that comes across so well. And thank you for sparing the time to come on the podcast tonight. I wish you all the best luck on Friday, and shove it up them, seriously. And we owe them the 6-0 big time, seriously. So
that wasn't good. That wasn't good that day, was it? No, I was there. I didn't enjoy that too well. Hopefully we can do a little bit better than that.
You're a good man, Steve. I will see you soon, no doubt. And thanks for all you're doing for QPR. We do appreciate it, and we'll be behind you 100%. I promise you that much. Have a good evening,
pleasure.
Steve.
Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me on anytime, champs. Thanks a lot.
You're a good man. See you later.
Cheers.
Do you know what comes across there is like, can you imagine any one of us getting a job at QPR as an assistant manager, coach, whatever, any role whatsoever? I'd be happy to sweep the pitch, to be fair. I don't care, but living the dream.
I sold lottery tickets for QPR years ago. Scratch cards in the late 90s, I think it was, middle 90s. And so that was the closest I've ever come to working for the club. But, I actually was a referee once. I was a linesman for one of the QPR youth team games at the old training ground, and I had to give a penalty, and I knew someone handballed on the line, and I was determined to get the guy sent off because I knew who it was, but the referee didn't want to know. I had to hide my QPR sticker in the car at the end before the game because it looked a bit off.
I sent my CV, didn't get a reply.
No, listen, we obviously we haven't talked because Steve does like to talk, which is good. We kind of can't really say too much about the Blackburn match, but then there wasn't that much to say apart from the fact that it was a point that we should have had a victory. Keeper could have done a wee bit better with the first goals, but anyway, and the linesman and referee. That linesman by the Elsie last week was on acid. I swear to God, there's no way that was sanity. There was no sanity in that man's head. Seriously,
I've never seen a player get booked for not having boots on either, which Charlie Austin did, didn't he? And then
is that an actual rule?
That what it was?
Wasn't allowed on the pitch for them 5 minutes afterwards. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous.
But is that an actual rule?
Well, I think they're saying he was booked for entering the field of play without permission. That was what he was booked for. But
wow.
It was just nonsense, and then not letting him on for 5 minutes afterwards. I mean, that was just dumb.
That was just, you've broken the rules, so I'm going to teach you a lesson now.
So they're yellow carding him for ending. That linesman ended the game without a brain. I mean, he's been sent off then. Right, Fulham and QPR on a Friday night. It's unwise in my. Hopefully, it'll be fine, but it's not. It's just. I mean, I know people who take the day off work for a kick-off that late, and it's by the river, and Fulham have been trying to create this rivalry with us for years, and it's quite insane, really. They want us to have a rivalry with them. I'm not sure what I really think about them. What do you think?
Oh, wow.
James.
I was thinking on the tube on the way here, there's only 2 clubs I've ever heard sing "We Hate QPR," and it is Brentford and Fulham. And
Luke used to sing it as well.
No, I was just a wee grasshopper.
Just saying.
I wasn't actually. I've seen us play Luton, but it's like Brentford. I understand. There was the tried to take him out of business in the 60s, but I don't get Fulham, and I get it. I don't get it from a point of view as simple as maybe I'm mid-30s and I haven't seen us in the same divisions for that often. So in the last 25 years, we haven't really been in the same division that much. But it's also just the fact of sometimes, from a simple point of view, rivalry comes from bumping into people that are fans, having a bit of a go, and genuinely, the first Fulham fan I met, and I'm from Notting Hill, West London. The first Fulham fan I met was in Surrey when I went to uni, because I was 19.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't like I wasn't, I grew up playing football. I wasn't not trying to find Fulham fans, and that isn't a Fulham dig. It's just, so as a result, although they're, Hammersmith Fulham is the only borough with 3 professional football clubs in the country and all of that, and what we're like 2-3 miles away. I get it, but I don't. If anything, it should be a rivalry bigger than it is.
Well, on your wee notes you put earlier, they were our main rivals when we first formed, apparently.
Yeah, because both of us are older than that club that say they play that called Chelsea, but don't even play in Chelsea.
Well,
there's a technical point there.
But that ground was originally built for Fulham as well, by the way.
Oh, really? The athletic ground, wherever it was.
Where they used to park cars in the 80s.
I think a lot of it with the Fulham fans is that because we hadn't played them for so long, I think they pretty much convinced themselves that they always sing it, we'll never play you again.
I hate that.
And therefore, when they started spending all the money, and I think we played one season in the championship equivalent, whatever it was then, and they carried on spending and went up, and then they were pretty much convinced they'd seen the back of us. And then the role sort of reversed, isn't it? I mean, they've lost some money, they've started plummeting down the division, and I think they're trying to instill a rivalry which is there in some quarters but perhaps isn't as important to most people. I mean, you're right, Chelsea, I think everyone accepts that we think they're our main rivals. They pretend not to care about us a lot, but you just got to look at the message boards when we beat them 1-0 a couple of years ago at their place to understand the people that have been around a bit longer get the rivalry.
Yeah.
Brentford, again, we hardly played them over the last few years, and they always get a bit agitated about us, but Fulham is just a weird one. I just think it's because we haven't played them for a while, and they're trying to find a rivalry that perhaps doesn't exist as much as other clubs.
I think they're also just too inoffensive to really have proper rivals. I mean, so they have a neutral end. Their fan base at the moment is made up of
Statue Michael Jackson.
Yeah, their fan base is made up of is a fairly nice. They seem just like nice people. I don't hate them. I don't like them.
I'm
they're a bit vanilla.
I'm indifferent.
Ambivalent, yeah.
And that probably sounds the worst thing to say to a Fulham fan that's trying to get this thing going. But I am indifferent. I don't want to lose to them, of course not. But I wouldn't want to lose to any team that QPR play.
I want to beat them because the last 2 times I've been to Fulham have been miserable occasions. I went with Paul. Not the last time, the time before that, and we sat in the neutral end and people were just getting chucked out and we got hammered 6-0. And then there was was it 3-2 the last
Surprised
time?
I wasn't chucked out, to be fair.
Yeah. Just 2 miserable occasions of going to Fulham. So I'd quite like to beat them, but yeah, no.
But that's more based on
else.
previous results as well, rather than it's Fulham.
But people forget as well, and you might not know because you're young.
Yeah.
And you're younger than me, I think.
Just about.
Yeah, okay. And you're definitely younger than me. When they started getting through the leagues, they used to print letters in their programmes from ex-QPR fans, allegedly, saying, I was a QPR fan, I've now come to Fulham, and you know what, this is brilliant. And I was thinking, and that kind of started from there, why would you put that in your programme anyway? And then, of course, I got trolled by Fulham fans for once going on the radio and saying that we have got a much more loyal fan base and everything else. And they put me on YouTube and everything, so Fulham fans actually hate me, and I'm the most... They shouldn't even know who I am. They're so with QPR, they kind of want us to hate them, but we don't, and we kind of say things like, we are a more loyal club. We've proved that when we went in administration and stuff, and that's just the way it is. The neutral end, I've got a funny feeling on Friday, we won't be so neutral. So you're going to have 6,000 whatever QPR fans down there. I just hope it was a great night, and I'd love us to win. Just for Steiner, poor soul went there and got sent off by that horrible referee.
Rob Styles.
He hated us. He sent 2 off at Wickham once as well, if I remember rightly.
Yep.
And anyway, so We'll do a quick score prediction, and then I'm going to wrap up because Gabriel's looking very anxious and agitated. That's 2 words I've used. I can't get beyond that now. But right, James, score prediction for Friday, not Saturday, as I keep saying.
Friday. 2-1 Rangers.
Yeah?
Yeah, why not?
Excellent. Ben?
Well, I think we're going to score 2, but because we concede to a game, it has to be 2-2. But I'm kind of thinking 2-1 as well.
You're definitely the sensible brother, aren't you?
Yeah.
Mark?
Right now, I'd take a 1-0 win with a McCormack own goal if Charlie Austin can't score, because that would be tremendous fun to see the multi-million-pound striker score one for us in the wrong end. So 1-0, it's either Austin or McCormack own goal.
Do you know what I think? I think we're going to do them 3-0. I think we're going to absolutely... Seriously, we owe them. We seriously owe them. And, it'd be a nice day. And evening. And we'll live off that for a while. And I think, to be fair, they need to realise that we are the People's Club of West London. Let's get us back into our rules in life. And we are going back to being a People's Club. Sod the money. It didn't work. Let's do it the proper way. Right. Ours end of the show, James.
Oh, okay. I got loads, but I'll go positive.
I've go positive. Sounds like a Smith song.
Sorry. I've got loads of complaints, but I'll go positive. No, I was going to say I voted for the podcast.
Oh, yes.
Am I allowed to do that, having been on it?
I was supposed to mention that. Well, obviously I prompted you to say that.
I know, but you just punched me in the arm, which is a bit painful.
Yeah, right.
And how did you vote for the podcast?
Yes, James.
Via Twitter. I just said I'm voting for, the QPR podcast with the FBA Awards, is it, or something like that? I can't remember. And that counts as a vote.
Brilliant. So get on Twitter and vote for us, and James will buy you all a drink. Excellent.
As normal.
So what was your hours end then?
It's a bit of a weird... I just want to hear what people have to say, actually, slightly. I'm not sure about...
They listen to us.
No. I mean, the people around the table.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'm not that convinced about Cherry. I just wondered what everyone else had to say.
I don't think he's had the opportunity to really prove himself yet. I think he's... when he got subbed against Blackburn, I thought that's kind of fair enough. He hadn't really done anything. It kind of made sense. Some people around me were shouting otherwise. I kind of agree with you. I haven't seen too much of him to sway me one way or the other.
Luongo's looked the best signing for me that we made this summer so far.
I think Cherry's had glimpses, though, hasn't he? I think some of the things he has done when he has played, I think you can see that why we've bought him and why there's a bit of talent there. But whether he's consistent enough at the moment, I'm not sure. But I think he's still going to be a great player and he'll be a great asset for the rest of the season. Cool.
Do you know, you saying that, one thing people don't get these days is time. And I think give that lad time and you're going to have a hell of a player, I think. Right, so Ben, ours end of the show. I see you're looking through Twitter.
No, so what I was looking for was the way to vote for the podcast in the FBAs. Which
You've definitely been prompted by your brother.
No, I haven't.
It's supposed to be my job.
I haven't.
God, you're both trying to take over the show.
No, I wrote down votes right at the beginning. I wrote down votes at the beginning of the show.
Very defensive.
I actually have 2 things including this. So go to West 12, that's 1212 media.co.uk/vote to vote on Twitter. What I was actually going to mention was, and this is a bit geeky of me, but for about the last 10-15 years I have really wanted to put together a former QPR Fantasy Football League team made up entirely of former QPR players, which has been really difficult. The main reason I wanted to do it was because I had an excellent Fantasy Football League name called Queen's Past Rangers, which worked quite well. So I've got the team.
Geeky, he says.
I've got the team. It plays in a 3-4-3 formation. I could do with a couple more players. So if anyone does have suggestions for defenders or attackers, midfielders, I've got loans.
My God, you're serious.
Are you including loans?
Yeah, including loans. Anyone who has ever appeared in a QPR shirt at any point, as you'll see when it comes to
what's
midfield.
Your defence?
I'll take you through it. So if you have a defender or a midfielder a defender or an attacker that I don't have, please tweet me on @Benjamin Fraser.
Okay,
but
go on.
In goal has to be McCarthy because that is the only former QPR goalkeeper playing in the Premier League.
Okay.
My 3 defenders are Damien Delaney, Kyle Walker, and Kulka, obviously.
All right.
Could do with some more help there. On the bench,
Danny Simpson.
I have Danny Simpson on the bench, but he never plays for Leicester, unfortunately. My midfield is Raheem Sterling, which I think seeing as he is our second or most expensive, player that we've made the most from in terms of sales.
No, he's allowed. He's allowed.
Yeah.
He's allowed.
Punchin. I'm not even sure if he actually appeared for us, but he definitely
He had the worst 5-minute debut I've ever seen.
Yeah, he did play fight. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Wayne Routledge
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and Scott Sinclair.
Oh. Well,
And then up front...
You've actually thought about this.
Well, I really have trawled through teams for this. My sub-midfielder is actually Ben Watson. Sometimes it's Gary O'Neill, usually Ben
You could have
Watson.
Tom Carroll as well, couldn't you?
I could have Tom Carroll. There's quite a few midfielders out there. So,
Surprisingly for us.
yeah.
Up front, you're struggling, right?
Up front is... Yes. Not for the reason you would think. Zarate, who's actually scored this season for West Ham.
Yep.
And then I've got Remy and Crouch, who only started playing this week. And unfortunately, that's pretty much it. My sub goalie is actually Rudd from Norwich because he never plays, so I don't get points if McCarthy plays. And I've also got I've got some player at West Ham who's gone out on loan who never plays. Obviously, yes, Burke. But he never plays. So if anyone has an attacker or a
Surprisingly,
defender
that's what I was
or
thinking.
a goalie for my fantasy league team, really appreciate it. If you're interested, I got 27 points this week. I have 175 in total. I'm ranked, overall rank, 3 million out of 3.5 million teams in the fantasy league. I'm in the QPR
It sounds like how they would perform. It sounds like how they would perform.
No wonder we got shot of them in the first place.
Yeah.
That's got to be the most bizarre one I've ever heard in my time here, and that includes me half pissed sometimes. Cheers, Ben. That's brilliant. Have you finished? Sorry.
I have finished, yes.
You have finished. Is there anything you'd like to add to that? Please
It
go
will now
on.
be another 4 years, I imagine, until I'm invited back. But it was worth it.
That's incredible. Sorry. Follow that, Mark.
I'm not sure I can. I mean, it's about Charlie Austin, to be honest. I think we're still obviously all quite pleased that he stayed. I mean, how much of a 15 million snip does he look to Newcastle fans now after they badgered him for the last however many months when they thought he was going to sign? But I mean, that must be quite sickening for them. But their loss is our gain. But I imagine just how many goals he'd score if we used him properly. You look at all the goals he scored, coming onto headers and attacking the ball, running towards a goal, rather than lumping it up to him and expects him to lay it off to someone else. Just imagine how many goals he'd score if we used him properly. He's going to score double figures, 20 odd goals for us again this year, hopefully, if he stays beyond January. But if we use him in the right way, he's just such a class player. We'll get absolutely buckets of goals out of him and to our benefit.
Another good bet is Charlie Austin to be the top goal scorer in the Championship. The odds are reasonable, I think, and you can go each way on that.
Oh, okay. Right. It's now my turn for the hours into the show, which seems like waiting for the end of Waterloo, actually. Do you know what? This has been a good podcast. I've enjoyed it, and I'm desperately trying to think of something for Friday that doesn't involve. I'm going down there early to have a few drinks with a few mates and have a nice time, which I think everyone should do, and just go there and support the team and show them who the real People's Club of West London are, which is us. And I really want us to win, not because it's a rivalry, because the 6-0 hurt, and oh yes. But before I talk about that, Tiger Cubs, we're walking. That was brilliant, Ben, by the way. Much more better than your geeky bit before, which is quite frankly scary. We're walking from QPR to, the Harlington training ground to QPR and for the Bolton game. And Mark, you're joining us this year, aren't you?
Yep.
Which is handy because everyone else who's talked to me has bailed out this year.
Oh, really?
So I need a friend.
I've still got time.
Excellent. So please support the Tiger Cup in whatever way you can. If you're not walking and you see a bucket pass around the Bolton game, please put something in, because I tell you what the community guys do with that is just amazing. And if you watch the videos and actually spend time getting involved in it, it's so enlightening and such a wonderful side to our football club that it can only inspire, to be honest with you. Talking of inspiring, our job on Friday is to get down there, make as much noise as possible, and show them that it's not a derby in the way they think it is. We are always that passionate about our football club. They just don't know what passion is. Enjoy Friday and let's go there and win. This is Open All Hours. And by the way, the gluten-free desk beer is actually really nice. I've enjoyed this. I'm actually desk beer, if you're listening, which I hope you are. you ever delivered near Barnet, there's a flower shop with your name on it. Anyway, enjoy the game Friday. Come on, you R's. Come on.
The QPR podcast is a West 12 Media and Burble Media production.
QPR, Twin Park Rangers are on the up and up. QPR,